Hey everybody, what is it, Tuesday? Happy Tuesday. Just left a house out here in Rockwood. Went to take a look at it to get on some comps and some numbers. So I have a nice little drive back into good old Knox Vegas, and I want to talk about some insurance stuff. Insurance is really crazy right now. And I'm not just saying that because my experience has been really crazy or wild or hard, and insurance is really hard. I did a video on that the other day. But it really is. If you talk to people who've been doing it, 10, 20, 30 years, they'll tell you they've probably never seen anything like it is today. But they will tell you the market definitely has highs and lows. I mean, a lot like real estate. And in insurance, a lot like real estate, when you pass the test, they don't teach you how to insurance. Same thing in real estate. You pass the test, it doesn't teach you how to real estate. It doesn't teach you the day in, day out, like job responsibilities. It doesn't teach you anything about carriers, how the game is played, how it's worked, how to really help people and find the best coverages and what carriers are good for what. You really just got to learn it. Again, kind of like real estate. And get the experience doing it, and learn as you go, and have an open mind, and really just put the time, energy, and effort into self-development in the industry. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And so as I'm kind of learning and experiencing things, more times than like, once or twice, things that I'm seeing, so such as like common denominators, right? Common things that are happening over and over again. It seems like to me that, hey, listen, I should share this with people because I'm seeing this. And so one of the things right now that I'm seeing, and again, I will quote you all day long. Anybody that wants quotes on essentially anything except for life and health, I can quote you on. I'm happy to do it. For one, again, I'm still learning, and so I view that as a way to learn. But it's really hard for me, and what I would say any insurance provider, if they're going to tell you something different, they're going to lie. But it's really hard for me to be extremely competitive, is what I'll say. Meaning that, hey, Steven, I just want my same coverage, but I want a lower price. Well, insurance prices are going up. And if you signed up for a 1-year policy 9 months ago, it's probably impossible. I don't say impossible. It is highly unlikely that I can probably find any carrier with your same coverages that you signed up for 9 months ago, when knowingly the average insurance premium is up 10, 20, 30%, and be able to find that to beat your number. Very unlikely. And this is from experience. I'm not saying this because I watched the YouTube or listened to a podcast on it. I'm saying it because that's what I'm seeing. People have kind of quotes that was done, 4+ months ago. It's real hard to be competitive in there. Now, we can find scenarios where we can definitely get them better coverage for close, or be a little bit more expensive than their coverage now, but they're obviously get them under a new policy, and that policy is extended. But the main thing what I'm seeing this for is really, and I've told several people this the last week, it's going to make more sense for you to come back to us or come back to me when you're about 30 days away from your renewal, right? About 30 days away from your renewal, because odds are when you get your renewal, let's just say, for September, an example, when you get that renewal, your price is going to go way up, right? Because it's going to be more expensive than what it is today. It is. And now I have the opportunity to then kind of start on a fresh start, compete with that with our carriers. And then ultimately, again, I've told several people this, hey, it doesn't make sense, can't beat it. And here, come back to me in XYZ time, because here's the thing right now, insurance carriers don't want new business. How do I know this? It's because their rates are so dang high, and they look for every little thing to either raise your rate or every little thing for a way not to give you a quote. And so what they're doing with their pricing is they're putting more of the risk on you because of the price is so expensive. They're saying, hey, we really don't want this right now, but if you're willing to pay this, we'll take it. Is exactly what's going on. Now, there's going to be a time but that is going to slowly start switching. When insurance carriers are going to figure out their new law of large numbers formula, and they're going to start saying, all right, well, we were charging, this is a quick example, we were charging, for this type of buyer, buyer one, we were charging like $2,000, but now we figured out we can actually lower that for buyer one to $1,800, right? So what you got to do as a consumer when shopping is you need to shop all of them. You need to. Insurance is not a credit hit. A lot of people get that confused. It's not a credit hit. You need to shop all of them. Now, I have a ton of carriers I can shop you through. And a lot of your independent agents, we pretty much all have the same carriers. There's going to be some agents that have access to a few carriers I don't. Reason is because those carriers are not approving new agents currently. But when this change I'm talking about, they will approve me, and then I'll have access to them. But ultimately, talk to a couple different independent agents, go to your captive agents, which is like your TV commercial ones, your Geico and State Farm, and stuff like that, to see if they have anything for you. And shop. And what you need to do is number one is you need to understand what type of coverage that you need. Not just the cheapest, you need to understand what type of coverage you need, and then when you figure that out, when you figure out what type of coverage you need, then you can go and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, let me know your best price on it. And they can provide that to you. Because what will happen is if you go to, I'll just say again, it's a shady business, it's like a lot of stuff in sales. If you came to me and said, Steven, you know what, I just want you to beat this quote and go as cheap as possible, I could probably maneuver the numbers around to probably beat your quote. Even with all the things I just said earlier in this video, by creating you a ridiculously high deductible, by giving you the absolute lowest coverages, by doing exclusions in custom policies, and excluding your dogs and different things like that, your trampoline, so if somebody falls and breaks their arm, your home insurance doesn't cover it, they can sue you out of pocket. So you can go in there and you can maneuver stuff and probably beat it. And so if you call somebody and say, I want the cheapest quote, they can do that. And then send you a quote, and you're not going to know because it's on page 32 in the fine print of all the exclusions. You're not going to know until if and when that disaster does happen, and then you're left to crap out of luck. I'm not going to do that, right? I ultimately will write policies that if and when something does happen, people understand, their coverages, their limits, and all that. I've explained a lot of stuff to people the last couple of weeks, where friends and family and even strangers, arguably strangers, right, have came to me and we're talking through things. They're like, oh, nobody's ever explained that to me. And I'm like, well, yeah, here's what it means. Here, do you want this? Do you want sewer backup in your house? Right now, your current policy doesn't have. Well, I didn't know that was even offered. How much is it? Sometimes like $7 a year. In addition, right? It's $7 a year for a $10,000 sewer backup. Do you want windshield replacement coverage on your car if a rock hits it? I got a cracked windshield over here now, or a rock hit it. Do you want that option? You can have all of this stuff. That's why it's important to kind of go through it with somebody to get educated. And that's kind of where I thought originally, I was like, you know what? I want to take people's quote and find the cheaper and better one. But I'm actually finding a lot of people already have like what I would just call bad coverages. If something does happen, they're going to be shocked when their coverages don't probably cover what they think they're insured for. Just because you have insurance doesn't mean you're, what I would say, covered in any and all scenario. But what I'm trying to do is provide value as an agent, and in hopes that people would want to do business with me, so they know that they're taken care of, and explain and all that good stuff. That's really what I'm going to pivot to. It's again, I was always explaining it, but I was trying to beat everybody's pricing, and it's just really hard to do right now. But what I will say, if you are working with if you do have carriers that are working with independent agents, and you have good coverages, all it is a one-page document. I've had several people do already, to where you send it to you and you fill it out, and then we send it to the carrier, and they switch your basically person responsible for your file over to me. So they will switch you from whoever you're with, and they'll switch it over to me. I've had a lot of people do that because, again, if you got good coverages, don't change. I can just service you, and then when you come up for renewal, I can shop your renewal and see if who you're offering with is the best. But that's really where right now is it's really hard to beat renewal business, because for carriers, they're taking on a lot of risk on a new client is what they're looking at. Whereas you've been with them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you're a lower risk on a renewal to them, so therefore they can usually offer you a better rate, which is the way the system is now. But again, all things point to that changing. Call it sooner than later, meaning end of the year, early next year, pivoting. I've had a lot of the carriers that work at independent agents reach back out to me and said, Steven, we're just not appointing anybody right now, but we would love to talk with you, follow back up with us in quarter 4. That's been like almost across the board, quarter four, which is, call it October. And then we'll allow you, such as like a Progressive, right? Progressive is a big one that I really want, but they're not appointing anybody. So the hope is, though, is when they do back up, I can appoint real quick and then add them a portfolio, because Progressive is a pretty good sized company, and they seem to be very competitive on a lot of things. So just wanted to share that with you. Again, most importantly, I would say wait till you're 30 to 60 days out. Wait till you've gotten your renewal on your current policy, and then start shopping. It's actually really easy to kind of change insurance stuff. Even if you got a home and it's paid out of your escrow account, we can help you with that. We can explain it all. It's really not a big deal. But kind of what I'll tell people, if I can beat your coverage and for a better price and offer all this, hey, this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Obviously, those of you know me, and a lot of times right now, it's not made sense. So I'll say, hey, let's follow back up in 3 months and 6 months whenever your policy renews, and then we can kind of really compare, because your policy's 10-20% less than what I can price right now. But maybe these carriers will change, and maybe when your renewal will go, your odds are your renewal is going to go significantly up. So it should kind of be brought to an